The Los Angeles part of it, it's so confusing. I think I figured it out. I think I got it. By that I mean I read 2 articles by people who did figure it out. In the early 1900s, the U.S. was just a viney mess of just different roads and paths, but there was no cohesive road that connected the 2 sides of the country, which was becoming more necessary because in 1010, I assume that's 1910. My computer had a Y2K in the middle of this. In binary, there were 500,000 cars in the country in 1910, but by 1920, there were almost 10 million cars.
Henry Ford just working hard.
Yeah, just working hard to bring back baby Hitler. Bring back. He was baby Hitler.
I know that I'm like 31, but can you get a baby version of me?
For this reason, in 1914, the National Old Trails Road was created that ran from New York City to Los Angeles. That's the East Coast, you know.
New York? There's an ocean there?
There's a New York?
You mean Yorkshire, right?
This ocean thoroughfare, they called it. It went across the country and arrived. Wow, you just finished a beer and crushed it on your head. It arrived into town via Foothill Boulevard, and it ended up at the close enough to Los Angeles part of town of Alhambra at Huntington Drive. So that's where the old National Old Trails Road, it sort of ended. So this quaint route existed for a little over a decade before the route system started developing, and some people started calling for a more polished cross-country road. Which
Cars couldn't brake on it because it's so polished.
It's Bullet. They tried filming Bullet on it, and Steve McQueen died 3 times. I just watched the movie, so I know the trivia. He's dead 4 times over. They wanted this new, polished, like a nice cross-country road, a road that could accommodate more wallets and disposable income.
How's my wallet supposed to fit on this road?
I mean, where's the lane for my bank account to drive down and get emptied on every single exit? A guy named Cyrus Avery, who was an Oklahoma real estate mogul, he started pushing for a new route that would get more people coming through Oklahoma so that he could sell more real estate. But this new route would go, instead of New York City, that's abbreviated NYC, to LA, it's abbreviated Los Angeles.
Louisiana.
From New York City, Louisiana. So instead of going from New York City to Los Angeles, it would go instead from Chicago, to Los Angeles. But the old National Old Trails Road was already there. It would mostly just follow that same path since it was already kind of a road towards Los Angeles.
It would just be the same path? Renamed?
For most of it, yeah. Okay. I mean, I think they tweaked a few things to get, like, I've got this barn that has a really big milk jug in it. I think people might want to stop and see it.
They might want to go an hour north and then come back down.
Yeah, exactly. I've got a cricket farm. This road was completed in 1926, and it was known as Route 66 and began at the intersection of Jackson Boulevard and Michigan Avenue in Chicago. It went down through the Midwest and then through the Southwest until it got to LA County limits, which is where things get very confusing.
Okay.
Since it was following the old trail Road, it still entered town through Foothill, but now it actually went to Los Angeles City proper instead of close enough Alhambra.
Yeah. Did it have a stop on Huntington Drive, or is it just like?
I mean, there's no. it's not. It's just like a road. It's not like a. Right. You just pull over anywhere.
Right, but it wasn't like this is the last cool stop of old Route 66, or was
no?
It like,
it wasn't old Route. It is Route 6. The ethos is being created as we speak, Greg. Because this is all happening.
I didn't spit. I don't spit. I learned not to.
I didn't say spit. We're sitting so far apart we can't even understand.
I want to get walkie-talkie.
Get on top of Baxter and let's record this. I want to go back in a room so we can actually hear each other. And you don't have your sockless feet up on your car.
I've been reading Huck Finn and I really like it.
You heard the word Oklahoma and you took your shoes and socks off.
I have a bandana around my neck. My pants are rolled up to my knee.
You got a pitchfork on your
I have straw in my mouth.
Is that a pitchfork in your pocket? Or are you from Oklahoma? So now you would come into Pasadena along Colorado Boulevard.
Okay.
Then go south along Fair Oaks Avenue to Huntington Drive to Mission Road to Broadway, which would take you downtown and would end at the official end of Route 66 at 7th and Broadway, right by Clifton's. Yeah. So that was the end of the road.
What year was this?
Or beginning of the road. This is, when did it start?
The 20s?
Early 20s, okay. 1926. It was early 20s, 1926.
Early 20s. Mid 20s.
The later half of the 20s, the early 20s. It's all spontaneous. We all made this up.
I mean, I'm coming up with it in my head. Like I'm just I have to walk me through it, Greg.
Talk me through it. So this was the route until 1936, but the early 30s. But in that time, several alternate Route 66 paths had to be added because more and more cars were coming, and they needed like a Waze-like way to alleviate some of the traffic.
Right. Okay.
Waze, it's kind of like TikTok.
It's like TikTok, but for cars.
Your car can do a dance with your dad, and people really like it.
You can look up GPS routes, but only for 6 seconds, and then it disappears.
6-second detours. It's just not a bad name for a TikTok channel. The alternate route from 1931 to 34 had you go along Fair Oaks, but then go right on Mission Street into Highland Park along Pasadena Avenue to York to Figueroa, back to Pasadena, then to Broadway to downtown. So that was the first alternate route. Then another alternate one was added in 1935 that ignored Fair Oaks completely and took you out of Pasadena via the Colorado Street Suicide Bridge, which was one of the things I was like, we could talk about the Suicide Bridge now.
I just learned a great fact the other day about it.
Save it.
I'll save it for when we're being spontaneous. I'll write a 3-page paper on how spontaneously I thought about a woman throwing her baby off.
The next episode is about being spontaneous, so you can do it in that one.
Spontaneity in Los Angeles. Yeah.
So it went across Suicide Bridge through Eagle Rock, then a left on Eagle Rock Boulevard, left on San Fernando Road to connect to Broadway to take you to downtown.
It's awful. I've been down San Fernando Road.
Yeah, it's kind of an ugly route, that one, for part of it. But then things changed completely when it became clear that downtown LA was no longer the western end of civilization. Like, there's still more now. So now the city stretched all the way to Santa Monica, so Route 66 as well had to be extended.
So it goes to the... Continue.
I know what you're going to say, and you're wrong.
Okay.
Which I know you're used to me saying that to you, but this time...
You're wrong because I haven't said it first. And after I say it, you might be right.
I'm not Alberto Sistos. I'm here to one-up you. So now instead of going to Clifton's, when you were on Broadway, you would turn along what is now Cesar Chavez Avenue to Sunset Boulevard to Mira, which used to connect over to Santa Monica Boulevard, which would then take you all the way west to Lincoln, where you turned left to a right at the new and still current official of Route 66, the intersection of Lincoln and Olympic, right by Mel's. It's like a freeway off-ramp, basically. It's an ugly... Oh, so you knew that.
I know the intersection. I'm quite familiar with areas. My navigational prowess won't let me be wrong.
Best line in that intro. I've slept. This is the true end of Route 66.
But then...
But a challenger enters. But the reason it was there was because there was a federal rule that highways can't end in a dead end and not connect to another highway.
Freaking wall.
Yeah.
Well, you didn't get off that. You got to slam into that wall.
You got to go straight into it like Wile E. Coyote. So they picked here because this intersects with Route 1, the PCH, and can keep your American journey flowing, right? Now time to head north. So it all kind of loops together. There's a sign at this intersection marking it as the beginning or end of Route 66, depending on what way you look at it. Yeah. But this freeway off-ramp isn't really an intersection a lot of tourists are impressed by. So in 2009, it wasn't. They decided to put up a phony plaque at the beginning of the Santa Monica Pier as a more postcard-worthy end of that route. So that's only been for 10, 11 years. Yeah, I didn't know that. That's kind of disappointing. Because I always thought, like, oh, we'll drive Route 66 one day. We'll start at the pier and drive all the way to that hot dog stand in Chicago.
Right.
I would have felt incomplete if I didn't start at Lincoln and Olympic.
We start at Mel's and then we drive to the Mel's that's over there in Chicago.
Yeah, but he's really big and he hates the Bears or whatever. Things got even more confusing in the 40s when the Arroyo Seco Parkway was created and confused Route 66 even further. In the late 40s, Route 66 changed to follow the new Arroyo Seco Parkway to take you to Sunset to Santa Monica. So now you're basically the Arroyo Seco was Route 66. Then in 1953, it changed yet again when the Hollywood Freeway opened. So now you went from the Arroyo Seco 110 to the Hollywood Freeway 101 to Santa Monica to Santa Monica.
I thought the point was roadside stuff. So why are you on a freeway?
This is at this point it's barely
so far beyond that.
It's not even. Let me finish this.
Yeah. Let me finish talking spontaneously.
Yeah, let me just finish this thought I had. So in all, Route 66 has had a fitting 6 different routes in Los Angeles, and in pure LA fashion, it got replaced by a freeway. By 1964, it was no longer listed in maps of LA because freeways were just more efficient. Yeah. And on June 22nd, 1985, Route 66 was officially decommissioned. They took it behind the barn, the world's biggest barn. They shot it with the world's biggest bullet in the U.S., so it was decommissioned, which is why it's now always referred to as historic Route 66. So it's not an official road anymore. Yeah. It's just nostalgia now.